So welcome to our info session. We're going to begin with some introductions. All right, so hi everyone, I'm Tiffany. I'm currently the president of HAND, and it's a pleasure to be here today.
Hi everyone, I'm Sonia. I'm currently the internal vice president of HAND, and it's really nice to be here with you all today.
Hi, I'm Ashley, and I'm the external vice president for HAND. And Nitin's not here, but he's the vice president of technology.
Hey everyone, I'm Artie and I'm the education director, and it's good to see you all today.
Hi everyone, my name is Pauline and I am the public relations director.
Hi everyone, my name is Shravya and I'm the current outreach director, and thank you so much for showing up during spring break.
Hi everyone, I'm Jane. I'm one of the innovation team directors.
Hi everyone, I'm Shripad. I'm the other innovation team director.
All right, and Archie is our finance director, helping us with our grants. Okay, so for our board of advisors, we have our faculty advisor, Dr. Casillo, who's currently a professor at UCLA, and we have Lee Felsenstein, who is our engineering advisor and one of the pioneers of the PCs. And we have Dr. Chen, who is currently our medical advisor, and Dr. Jeff Bronstein, who is currently the director of the UCLA Movement Disorders program. He serves as our medical advisor as well. More recently, we have Dr. Trejos and Dr. McEwan, who are joining us as our engineering and medical advisors, respectively. All right, so what's our mission statement? HAND, as you may know, stands for High Tech and Neurological Disorders, and we are an official organization at UCLA. And we focus on the intersection of healthcare and innovation. And we do this by partnering with the UCLA Brain Research Institute and the Movement Disorders Clinic in order to increase awareness and education of neurological diseases, including movement disorders such as Parkinson's. In this virtual year, we are composed of 3 committees: education, outreach, and PR. And we host speakers such as medical professionals and industry leaders, facilitate journal clubs to discuss recent research, and lead educational workshops for middle schoolers. Additionally, you can choose to be part of our innovation team, which is an ongoing project to develop a prototype for and to market the Parkinson's device patent held by me. And for next year, HAND will be guiding members to shadow physicians at the UCLA Movement Disorders Clinic and to aid those interested to seek positions in neuroscience or clinical research laboratories. Finally, we welcome all students passionate about neuroscience and cutting-edge technology, as well as students in the business and marketing fields, especially those interested in biotech and entrepreneurship.
Okay, so HAND has 5 core main values, and I'll talk about the first 2. So for awareness, we promote awareness of neurological disorders through educational newsletters and infographics, and we also create an outreach curriculum to teach STEM workshops to high school and middle school students with topics such as the application of technology in healthcare and career development pathways. And the second one is learning, and we build a community of undergraduate and graduate students interested in neuroscience and biotechnology and connect them with networks of professionals in their respective fields through events such as guest speakers and journal clubs.
All right, and our third main core value is collaboration. And as mentioned before, we have our innovation team, which combines students in business, design, and sciences to build intelligent prototypes. Collaboration is also really present in our outreach and education committee as well. We have shadowing, and this year members have been learning a lot about various neurological disorders, including diagnosis, treatment options, long-term patient care, and things like that. And that'll aid members in preparing for potential clinical volunteering and physician shadowing opportunities next year. And finally, we have entrepreneurship. And as part of our professional development curriculum, members are learning about and exploring various career opportunities ranging from the different medical specialties and pathways, and also to biotech industry and startup creation.
All right, and as I mentioned already, we have advisors from the UCLA Medical School, as well as UCLA Health, and from the BRI as well.
All right, and we'll just briefly run through all our committees as well as our innovation team here at HAND. So we're made up of 3 main committees, which are education, outreach, and public relations. And in addition, we also have our innovation team. And next year, we'll also have our shadowing program for certain members to take place in. So for our education committee, it's basically made up of 3 main subcommittees or squads, which include seminars and research, podcasts, and social media newsletters. Seminars and research is mainly in charge of creating our weekly seminars for our general meetings, and also about for teaching members about disorders, research treatments through journal clubs, and kind of presentation style formats. Podcasts create segments related to neuro research, and they also interview doctors, UCLA professionals, other industry professionals for these podcasts. And finally, social media newsletters create educational infographics and interactives on neurological disorders. And these are always posted on our Instagram page if you ever want to check them out.
Yeah, and you should definitely apply to the education committee if you enjoy teaching and presenting seminars or analyzing and breaking down research papers for journal clubs. If you're interested in creating infographics, presentations, and podcasts, or communicating and interviewing professors, physicians, and teaching fellow members, and also learning and reading papers on neurological research and online health forums, and just in general expanding your knowledge on neurological disorders. And we're looking to expand on all 3 of our squads. So if there's any type of new idea that you have that you want to present to us, we would definitely love to hear about it.
As for outreach committee, so I work with the outreach director to manage the outreach committee, and our responsibilities or commitments can be divided into 3 main committees, which are blogs slash interview series, presentations, and events. So the first one is that we write and publish blogs on the HAND website, as well as interview neurologists, researchers, and other professionals in the UCLA community. And the second one is that we present to different students from middle to high school about neurological topics, as well as official UCLA events such as Brain Awareness Week. And the third one is that we organize events such as socials, guest speakers, and club collaborations to build a community of students interested in neuroscience and biotechnology.
Yeah, so you can apply to outreach committee if you enjoy interacting with others of all ages, including college students at UCLA, as well as people outside of college, like students in middle schools and high schools. If you enjoy networking with professionals such as researchers or physicians, if you enjoy academic writing through blog posts, either about neurotechnology or about neuroscience in everyday life. Also, if you enjoy being part of a community and building a community by holding interactive and entertaining collaborations with other UCLA clubs and organizations. And ultimately, please apply to outreach if you enjoy communication, in the sense that we want outgoing people who are enthusiastic about outreach and educating others about neuroscience and its intersection with technology.
So our last committee is public relations. And our committee is basically focused on 3 main aspects: design, fundraising, and journaling. For designs, it's pretty self-explanatory, but we make most of the hands, flyers, graphics that you see on Instagram, Facebook, etc. And mainly we just want to use these to increase hands campus presence. And another aspect of PR is fundraising. So we brainstorm ideas for fundraising, and we use the money raised for meaningful causes relating to either movement disorders or organizations that focus on movement disorders. And then lastly, PR will also be in charge of journaling. So we will be partnering with Outreach Committee to basically put together a virtual magazine focused on current research and current events relating to neuroscience. So you'll definitely be able to read a lot about current events and be able to analyze those and write about those. So it's a lot of interaction with basically with science. And who should apply for PR? So you should apply for PR if you kind of like having a creative role, or if you really like aesthetics, and if you like art or graphic design. But I also want to emphasize that you don't need any prior experience for these. You kind of just learn as you go. A lot of the designing aspects and the aesthetics, you kind of just learn as you design them. And also, if you enjoy reading and writing scientific articles, like I mentioned, interacting with current research, then PR would be a good position for you. And lastly, if you like working with a really flexible schedule and being able to work at your own pace and not having to focus too much on deadlines, but really being able to like spread out your own schedule, I guess, then PR would be a good choice for you.
So now I'm going to talk a bit about the innovation team, whose goal is to design a hand glove prototype based on the I Stop Shaking patent. And so there are two sort of teams involved in this overall umbrella of an innovation team. First, we have the research team, which uses educational materials and resources to determine the scientific approach behind building the gloves. So basically talking about diseases like Parkinson's disease and essential tremor, which are the diseases that this sort of glove is supposed to be a therapeutic device for. And they also help with creating proposals based on business and marketing to implement the prototypes. So when we have to do clinical testing, they help with making the proposals for that. We also have an engineering team, which determines hardware and software design for the prototype to create a functional product. So this club has been around for about half a year now. And during that time, we've gone about deciding which sorts of designs we should move forward with. And so the engineering team in this upcoming quarter and this upcoming year is going to be actually working on the hardware and software for for the product. And to that effect, we assemble mechanical components using miniaturized gyroscopes, Intel wireless chips, and accelerometers, to name a few of the components.
All right, and recently this year we were named as we're named as one of the winners of the UCLA Health Innovation Challenge, specifically in the medical technology and digital health category. And it was really exciting because we were able to receive some seed funding for our innovation team.
So you might be wondering what we're going to do with now that we have some funding and we have some sort of design. Well, the future for the innovation team first is to create a design plan, creating specific designs for the models that we've chosen over the past 6 or so months. And then we're going to go about writing for the testing. We have to write proposals in order to create clinical testing, and we have to create a clinical protocol. We then also have to do some simulations. We can't just have, before actually investing the money and building the design, we have to simulate that in a physics engine. And so that's going to be a process that will take us a lot of time in the upcoming quarter. We're going to do some redesigns and upgrades. Of course, engineering is not a linear process. It's cyclic. And so we'll need to go back and adjust the designs based on the ones that we see are the most effective. And also there is going to be a programming component. Generally in Python, both backend and frontend for an application from which you could control the device, but then also backend determining when and how the gyroscopes are supposed to spin.
So if you're interested in anything that Shripad talked about that the innovation team does, you should consider applying. So if you have experience in any of these areas, so maybe CAD design, computational simulations, Python programming, or any type of computer programming skills, clinical research, robotics, UI design, 3D printing, this would be like a great aspect of hand for you to join. But you don't need to have experience in all of these areas because we will teach you as we're working. And so we all just kind of like work together. And if anyone has any questions, we're super open to all your questions. Like this is more of a learning process for all of us. So you don't need to know like everything when you're applying. And so if you're interested in maybe designing and creating a prototype, contributing to movement disorder technology and treatment, maybe working with our local movement disorders clinic, and also being able to talk with different physicians and scientists to our advisors, this would be a great team for you to apply to.
All right, next we have some of our past as well as upcoming events of hand.
Yeah, so one of our guest speakers last quarter was Dr. Michelle Basso, who is a professor in the departments of psychiatry and biobehavioral sciences and neurobiology. So she mainly works in her lab to unravel the neuronal circuits of decision-making in health and disease. And she mainly works within Parkinson's to understand the cognitive impairments within that disease specifically. And her work spans multiple species and employs multiple technologies designed to understand how memory and sensory information are combined to give rise to our decisions.
One of our other guest speakers was Dr. Daniel MacArthur, and so he is currently a vascular and interventional radiologist, and so he kind of took his time to explain to us what he did in medical school at the University of Maryland and what his residency was like at Tufts. And so he focuses mainly on uterine artery embolization, venous access, biliary intervention, and dialysis access. And so he just shared kind of what he does day to day and his thoughts about his experience in his career pathway.
All right, and next we have Dr. Dorothy Shao, who attended the University of Maryland School of Medicine, and she did her residency in pediatrics and her fellowship in neonatal medicine at George W. University. Dr. Shao was able to share her experience as one of the few women in her class to pursue medicine, as well as offer us advice into pursuing different healthcare pathways.
And another guest speaker that we had last quarter was Dr. Kirsten MacArthur, who was a graduate of Brown University and received her medical degree from the University of Connecticut School of Medicine. She completed her residency in internal medicine and specializes in gastroenterology at Boston Medical Center. And she also spoke to our club about her experiences as a physician and shared more advice about regarding students who want to pursue a career in medicine.
So some upcoming speakers that we have set up for spring quarter are Dr. Karen Morgenstern, and she is currently a UCLA headache specialist, and we're looking forward to hearing about the case studies that she's worked on and also the headache disorders that she mainly works with, and just to get an overall view about what it's like to be a neurologist at UCLA.
And we'll also be hearing from Dr. Daniel Talker, and he is a neuroscientist from UCLA who researches information flow in the brain and how it's disrupted whenever an individual is unconscious. And his main goal is basically to spread his knowledge of science in the brain on social media. So he's like very active on like TikTok and Instagram, Twitter. So if you ever want to like look at his research or things that he's interested in, those are definitely online.
Our next guest speaker is Dr. Daniel Hamas, who's a gastroenterologist at UCLA and was also a professor of medicine at the UCLA Medical School. And he kind of switched gears and founded a value-based healthcare company that focused on bettering the treatment of patients with epilepsy through a mobile device. So he will be speaking to us more about the intersection of medicine and technology as it applies to the creation of his product.
Lastly, we have Michael Costa. So he's a mechanical engineer and currently he's the senior manager of systems engineering at Auris Health. And so he's done a lot of work with engineering medical devices. And so he's going to talk about his experience working at Intuitive Surgical to make the Da Vinci robot arm. So he's done a lot of work with robotic assisted surgery. One of our main events during winter quarter was a fundraising event called Trivia for Charity in collaboration with BFPC and other clubs where hand members competed in a trivia competition to raise money for charity. And we also did this in the fun format of Venmo pyramids and theirs. 1,167 was raised between the clubs and 550 was donated to the UCLA Movement Disorders program.
All right, and coming up in spring quarter, we have our Let's Talk Movement Disorders public event, and it's going to feature presentations by all of our committees. And then our innovation team will also be featuring their building design and prototype. And we're also planning to have multiple speakers come to our event.
Okay, so next we wanted to talk about our newly launched shadowing program. So like mentioned before, we are currently we're planning to launch our shadowing program starting spring of 2021. And the program is going to be aimed to give members more of a hands-on experience. And there are two main focuses of our shadowing program, and they're clinical and research. So in terms of clinical, we are currently in talks with UCLA Movement Disorder Clinic, hoping to partner with them and opening up shadowing and volunteering opportunities for some of our members to go in and help out at the clinic. And then in terms of research, we are hoping to do professional workshops and basically help some members apply into neuroscience focused labs, especially those who are interested in gaining more of a research experience. And especially since COVID regulations are beginning to loosen up, a lot of labs are planning to take more undergraduates.
All right, and we'll just briefly touch on our recruitment timeline and kind of our next steps. So today was info session number 1, so you all made it here, so good for that. Our next info session will be on April 2nd from 7 to 8 p.m. and that'll be like a meet the team info session, so you'll be able to talk to some of our leadership, maybe some of our members, and kind of hear their experiences with HAND. Our board applications will be due on April 4th, so if you are interested in applying to be on the board, our application is currently open. You should definitely fill it out. And our general member applications will be due on April 11th. And we'll be conducting board interviews weeks 2 through 3 of spring quarter and general interviews for some of our committees in week 4. And just so it's like a general meeting time this spring, we're going to be meeting on Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. So this could potentially be a meeting time going into next year, but that is subject to change.
All right, thank you guys for coming out on a spring break and joining us for our first info session. Here are all of our social media accounts, and we also have some time for any questions you guys have.